It wasn't that long ago that the summer vacation meant the streets were filled with kids, playing, laughing, splashing in pools, or running through sprinklers. Everyone was a friend. These days, the streets are silent, and electric bills are on the rise. Kids are inside hiding behind a screen, playing games, texting, or stirring up trouble on social media. It wasn't too long ago that going to school was fun. Classmates, first kisses, best friend bracelets, and secret handshakes. Today, it's bullying, guns, and teacher-student relationships. Above all else, a race for status.
Hello, you're watching Reverie with me, and I'm your host, Lori. Today we're going to talk about a book that anybody that has young people, adults, teenagers in their lives should definitely pick up and read. You see, it touches on topics that you and I probably wouldn't necessarily think about when giving our kids access to video games, cell phones, computers. Today, our kids are lost in an electronic world. As you saw from the intro, when we grew up, we played outside, we went swimming, but today, our streets are empty and kids are behind a screen. And this book shows what could potentially happen, what may even already be happening, when our kids get lost in games. When I interviewed Vincent Annunziato several months ago, I didn't really think that I would get into his very first novel, Status, the Game. When I opened the first few pages, it read like the manual of a video game. And well, to tell you the truth, I don't do video games. I don't do sci-fi. Anyway, let's not talk about me. So I really didn't think that this book would be for me. But upon interviewing him, I learned about the reason why he wrote this book and where it came from. I was intrigued by the story, and eventually I finished the book, and I did not regret it. You see, there's so many things happening behind the scenes that parents have absolutely no clue about. Kids get lost in these games and these social networks, and you just don't know what's going on, and you just never know what might happen. Truth is, it's scary. So while status isn't necessarily reality, it very well could be in the near future. So I encourage you to take a minute and listen to an excerpt from Chapter 4 of Status, the Game. Congratulations! You have been born into the world of Status. While you may want to take some time to view the city, we suggest that you head straight home and start there. Your home will always be marked by an X on the minimap, so you will always be able to locate your home. Consider this your first task, and you will gain status points once you complete it. Later in the game, your cave leader will assign tasks. Find your way home. Bob yelled at the computer, "Really? Can I start playing now?" A simple visit to his humble abode, and then he could pursue his dreams. He maneuvered the avatar through the streets and saw their zombies. The minimap displayed his movements and direction. Several action buttons, like attack, defend, and transport, were gray and inaccessible. Bob noticed cars driving. One was a beat-up VW Beetle, and yet another was a Porsche GT. The avatars driving the cars looked human, and each of them had gold boxes above their cars. Bob didn't know what they were, but thought they probably symbolized their higher levels. He was amazed at how real the city looked. And as he stopped into the street, a pop-up warned, "Watch out!" Bob pulled his avatar back just in time before a car hit him. He turned to look at the passing vehicle and thought a girl waved. "No way, Bobby, she was not waving at you," he mused as he realized zombies had no clout with striders. "If there's a box over my head, it's probably wrapped in a plain grocery bag." Status was graphically astounding. Without much action, it had already drawn him in. He navigated toward the X on the map. A blue dot marked his movement. Within a minute, he stood in front of a large refrigerator box. It read, "Bob Brooks Home," handwritten above a makeshift door. "Oh, so this is how you treat renters, huh? You stick them in a box?" he commented as he entered the doorway. The house was much larger on the inside, and the accommodations were actually better than where he lived. Mostly unfurnished, he found it to be the equivalent of a small studio apartment. The links he input earlier showed up as picture frames on his walls, Facebook on one side and Twitter on the other. "Very, very cool," he remarked. A small sleeping bag lay on the floor, an indication of how low he fell on the barometer of economic status in this game. In the middle of the floor, he saw a rolled-up, golden piece of paper. It glowed in the dim light of his apartment. Without hesitation, Bob picked up the item. The note popped up on the screen. A gift from Charlotte? Dear Bob, thank you for friending me. I would like you to hang this on the wall of your new home. It will complete another task for you and add status points to your account. This is a photo that I am going to use for modeling. Let me know what you think. If you hang it on your wall, you can click on it and automatically visit my Facebook site, see my posts in the news feeds, and stay in touch. Makes it easier to see what's going on or chat. Can't wait to hear from you. CT. At the bottom of the note, Bob saw the photo of Charlotte. He clicked on it and she came into full view on the screen. He sat back in his chair and the air left his body. It was a 3/4 length shot of her in a beautiful blue sweater that matched her eyes. She stood on a beach with the ocean behind her. The wind caressed her gently flowing hair. The photo had class, and she carried herself seductively yet innocently. The boundary between teacher and student had all but disappeared as he became mesmerized. Bob absent-mindedly accepted the gift, and Status put Charlotte's photo up on his wall. In his little boxed home, it took prominence over everything. He continued to stare at the picture, and suddenly a sound from his computer signaled that he received an IM. Charlotte must have sensed that he was thinking about her, but more likely, Facebook announced his presence once he accepted the gift. So you might be wondering why I decided to air this episode of Reverie with me outside, with the beautiful flowers behind me and the sounds of cars going by. And that's because the characters in the book Status probably don't get to experience this scene very often. You see, they're behind their computer screens, behind their phone screens, trying to figure out ways to accrue points in Status. And the scary thing about the game is that it's not exclusive to behind the screen. No, this game goes into their everyday life. In school, they're figuring out ways to make fun of people, to mock people, to get people to join their teams, and they're punishing them if they don't. They're starting inappropriate relationships with teachers. They're embarrassing people. They're bullying people. I mean, you name it. Anything that's happening in reality today that you hear about in the news from our students, it's happening in this book. Vincent Annunziato does a really great job of bringing what's happening in reality into his story and tying it into the Status of the game. So if you're a parent of a young adult or a teenager, or if you are a young adult or a teenager, this book is something that should definitely make it onto your summer reading list. Because reading this before you go back to school might help bring to light some of the things that are happening. And while the things that are happening in reality are probably not because of a game, the amount of time that we spend behind a screen could potentially be leading to the things that are happening in reality. So at the end of the vlog, you'll have an opportunity to find a link to Amazon where you can one click away for your Kindle, or you can order a hard copy of this book. And I highly recommend it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, even though I really didn't think I would. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reverie with me and that you'll watch again next week. Have a great week.